Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Crunch Time Live. I'm your host, Santiago Casanova, and joined by my friend, Matt Ward. How are you doing, sir?
What's up, everybody? Doing good, doing good.
All right, so we have a week three edition of Crunch Time Live. Before anything, let's go. Let's get some like player news, like who's out, who's in, and then we get to the real good stuff. Hit me with it, man.
I think the biggest and most important one right off the top for me, for everybody really paying attention, and would probably be a hot start sit question coming up too, is J.K. Dobbins' knee injury. He's going to play against the Patriots in week three after missing all of last season, most of the preseason, and 2 games this year. So yeah, that's a tough defense. That's a tough matchup. It's his first game back after a meniscus, ACL, MCL, and hamstring tear. So I'm excited to see JK play, but I'm not overly interested in starting him this week.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea because you just listed all the injuries he had. That's insane. Like, how do you even come back from that? Like, I get you playing, maybe, and like in one edge case scenario like the one we're in right now, but just coming back and being good is something different. If he does, he's a superhero.
Right. I mean, the semantics are kind of important there. He's playing, but to
Right.
come back as JK is, yeah, that's
Right.
going to be something to monitor for sure. But definitely excited to see him on the field. And I mean, while we're in that same game, we'll say that Jacoby Myers' knee as well is not expected to play against the Ravens.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. After he had a very nice game last season, like last week, sorry. He's gonna be missed in that Patriots offense. I just want to say.
Absolutely. And I mean, obviously, again, like on paper, a tough defensive front at least. But the Ravens secondary has kind of struggled. So Jacoby was probably in for a big day as well,
Yeah,
considering he's
yeah,
had a 31% target share this season.
absolutely. What else you got for me?
Um, I mean, going down the list, we got DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson both expected to play after limited participants this week in practice. I mean, Hawk's kind of a tough one, man. Like,
Yeah,
you drafted him and picked him up in a position where obviously he's your starting tight end. Like, you were drafting him inside of the top 10 rounds. So he's had a rough start and limited practices is not necessarily good, but this game's got sneaky shootout potential in the NFC North. So, I'm starting my fantasy options there. And we said it over and over again with DeAndre Swift last week. As long as the team deems him healthy enough to play football, you're putting him in your
right. Yeah,
lineups.
and it worked out
Yeah.
yesterday, last week. It worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
So I'm not doubting that.
Absolutely. Julio Jones is going to be out for the Bucks have just a laundry list of player injuries and one suspension. Mike Evans getting in a tussle up with Marshawn Lattimore last week. He is suspended for one game. Chris Godwin is out with a hamstring. Julio Jones is a game time decision with a knee. Brashad Perryman is a game time decision with a knee. So it's really looking like it's Leonard Fournette and nobody else.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
That's
mean, Lenny
good.
was also a limited participant with a hamstring, but got in a full
Oh, I
practice
mean,
on
full
Friday.
full is good enough for me,
Yeah, yeah,
especially
yeah.
when you're the only guy left.
And I mean, well, that's why you could probably assume that those limited participant practices for Lenny were being like, we know that everybody else
Be
is
careful.
screwed, so we got to
Right.
keep
Yeah.
at least this guy on the field. Rondale Moore for the Cardinals out again for sure, listed out, which is obviously disappointing for dynasty managers and any Rondale
And for
fan.
you, just in general.
just in general is true. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Rondell's yet to see the field this season, and we're watching Greg Dortch kind of like really enjoy that role that they had carved out and let Christian Kirk walk from for Rondale.
Of
And
course.
yeah, it's tough. It's tough. There's going to be some success there when he does get healthy. But obviously, for fantasy purposes, it's getting rough to be able to hold on to him on your benches if you don't have deep IR spots.
Right, right. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Especially because you don't have like guaranteed performance. He's not like a DeAndre Hopkins type guy that you're gonna hold on until he comes back.
Right.
Yeah, tough situation for him.
Tough. And then the Packers wide receiver core. I mean, everybody. Like everybody is hurt, limited, barely practicing all the way. Like Sammy Watkins just hit IR. So yeah, Bard, Dubs, Cobbs, Christian Watson, every single one of them hit the injury report this week. So that's going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah,
And I mean, the Packers have already struggled to move the football in general. They had a win against the Chicago Bears, but what a terrible
oh
game
yeah.
that was. Um, and yeah, that it's the Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon show. And I mean, those two guys are essentially making up 80% of the forward progressing opportunities right now. So that's basically the only two players in that offense that you can trust anyway. And in a
Yeah.
game where they have to lean on them even more, you would assume
Right, right.
it's going to be a big day for Aaron Jones again, I think.
Yeah, I agree. We just got a question in the chat. Like, is Keenan Allen playing? Do we know?
Keenan Allen, it still says game time decision. I was about to get to the Chargers because Justin Herbert is also a quote unquote game time decision. But I think he is going to play. If any worsen contact hits, they'll probably take him out of the game. You got a lot of check downs, a lot of running in that game. Um, as it says right now, he is expected to play, and Keenan Allen is game time. So Allen, I'm a little more worried about firing up immediately coming back from that quad injury,
Right.
especially because of the situation that Justin Herbert's about to enter with his rib cartilage being what it is, fractured, which is also really strange. I don't understand what rib cartilage fractures are.
No idea.
I think he's just got
No
fractured
idea.
ribs straight up, and they're trying to downplay it.
I'm an analytics guy. Injury, like
Yeah,
ribs,
like
all that.
it just doesn't
Don't
make
talk
much
to me about
sense.
that.
Like
I
he's
don't know.
he's banged up. He's banged up bad, and it's going to affect his throwing motion. It's going
Right.
to affect his mobility. I think any passing attempts will probably be allocated less than 5 yards down the field. He's not going to have that 75-yard bomb attached to his shoulder, which
Right.
does kind of benefit Keenan
If he does play.
if he does play. Exactly, but it's looking like it's a tough spot because I actually I don't do they play the afternoon game or the morning game?
Gotta be honest with you, I'm not
I'm
sure.
going to check that real quick for
Yeah.
the listeners because I think if it's in the afternoon game, it's going to be even. Yeah, see, it is. So it's pretty tough to trust them in that 105 Pacific Standard Time slot when
Mm.
you know that you're going to have serviceable options to fill in for Keenan in early games and then have him not be a game time decision and have really no
Right.
pivot. So
Yeah, that's when the strategy comes in, right? Again, like you need to make decisions based on what you know at the time and not necessarily like who's the best player. Like you need to make decisions now and who's the best now, right?
right, absolutely.
Let's just like what else do you have for us for injuries?
Well, we've got, I mean, kind of a sad one, but it certainly affects the outcome of this matchup, and that's
Right.
Mika Hyde is hitting injured reserve. He's done for the season with a neck injury. So the Bills'
Oh,
star safety, their number one defensive player, arguably, is out for the rest of the season, and obviously in a matchup where everybody was kind of afraid to start Tua with. And I mean, there are a lot more injuries in that secondary as well, but obviously the big one being Hyde. When everyone was kind of afraid to start Tua, it's looking like you can kind of comfortably fit him into your starting
yeah,
lineups if you
yeah,
were waiting for, or kind of playing matchup ball with Tua and somebody else if you had deep enough rosters to have two quarterbacks or in Superflex. Yeah, it's so that one's certainly going to that Dolphins offense and their ability to move the football. And we saw what they just did against the Ravens. They are very capable with the speed that they
yeah.
have of putting
What
up a
was
lot of
that?
points on anybody.
Yeah, without Hyde, it's gonna be tough for them to get back to like stopping Tua, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, it's just with it's that duo, man. Waddle and Hill are arguably like the two fastest receivers in the league. You just you can't shadow both of them. You can't, and especially without Hyde. Well, now you can't play two shell over top of them, where a safety is going to drop way back and cover. Um, I mean, yes, those formations, but they certainly won't be as effective without their star stud
Yeah,
there. So
yeah, for sure, for sure.
yeah, feeling pretty confident with two. Um, and I mean, for major injuries, I think that's it right now. There's a lot of questionable,
Right,
a lot
right.
of people that are like a Leonard Fournette, who yes he was questionable, but he's going to play, and it was probably just a rest management thing,
Right.
considering that offense being so banged up.
We got Joe in the chat. Buenos dias, mis amigos. Hey, well, good morning. How are you do? Actually, we have a surprise for you for the people tuning in right now, because it is a good morning. It is buenos dias, because it's not every day that you get to just hang out and sit next to your co-host while doing Crunch Time Live. What's up?
What's up, everybody?
You live. Same spot,
it's fun.
same place.
We in Vancouver, Canada Cass.
So yeah, we're gonna be able to discuss your questions better now that we're in the same place. Send your questions in. We got you. We got you. Let's get it. So that's it for any news, right? So
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, David Bakhtiari for the Packers was another one that I kind of wanted to bring up, just considering how important and integral he is to that offensive line. But we kind of already touched on the problems with that Packers offense in the first place. So it's certainly not looking good for the fantasy weapons in Green Bay that don't play in the backfield.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Hasn't it always looked like that?
Yeah, yeah, it's true. That's true. It's always been Adams and no one else, and now
Yeah.
it's just no one else.
And not even like David Bakhtiari. So that's not great for Adams. But I guess he just make do.
Well, I
He's
guess
the only guy.
since we're there too, and we kind of just touched on it. Taylor Lewan had the same knee injury happen again.
Interesting.
So
Well,
that's the Titans' offensive line, and I mean, Derrick Henry averaged 1.9 yards per carry against the Bills, and without Lewan there to anchor that line, I mean, things are looking rough for the Titans' offense in general. But that's a really, really big blow to moving the football on the ground.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I get that. All right. Look at that. Both of you in the same room. How's that possible? Yes, sir. We out here. It's time. It's a special episode, special crunch time episode. We got Matt and Cass, same place, getting it off, and you know,
And tell the people why you're here.
oh, I'm here for a conference actually. So I'm here in Vancouver for a conference, and we just realized like while we were discussing the trip that we were gonna be together for crunch time, and here we are. Right? So instead of me just sitting in a hotel room
I was
recording, that this is just miles better.
yeah. This is this is the couch that everybody sees me on, the famous backdrop.
Yeah, world famous Matt background. Now I'm here as well.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So all right. So let's get to these questions. We have Joe. He says I have JT and Swift as my running backs, I assume, and Marquise Brown. Oh no, my wide receivers are Marquise Brown and Sutton. I need help in my flex. Dylan, Harris, Dodson, Lassard, full PPR.
Uh, I'm gonna go with AJ Dillon here.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a huge Jahan Dotson truther, and I was very in on him before the season, and thought the disrespect that he was getting as a first round wide receiver with a good collegiate profile was absolutely ridiculous when we saw the hype that was being proposed for literally every other receiver in the draft class that didn't get drafted in the first round.
Yeah.
And then he comes and catches 3 touchdowns in his first 2 games. Now, that being said, is Dotson's usage and target share has been extremely limited. He only has a 10.2% target share through the season, and yes, he is getting those red zone looks and those high value targets. But this matchup is not the greatest, in my opinion. And I do think that it's kind of like Terry McLaurin will probably get the shadow treatment from Darius Slay. We saw what the Eagles secondary did to the Vikings previously, and I do happen to think that Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins are better than Carson Wentz and
Right.
his band of receivers. So it's going to be a tough going for the passing game there, and I think they're going to lean heavily on the run game until it doesn't work anymore. And then we've seen Curtis Samuel just command targets for that team, pun
Yeah.
intended.
Yeah. Look at that.
So I really like Curtis Samuel, and he's had essentially the exact same splits as Terry McLaurin as far as like snaps played,
Right.
and has a higher target share, more targets per route run, more yards per route run, more yards per team pass attempt. So it's kind of looked like I've always felt this way about Terry McLaurin, and I don't mean any offense by it, but I've always felt like if Washington ever brought in a number two, Terry would take a massive hit. And I know it's only 2 weeks in, but you are starting to see it because they have two number twos, or two number ones if Dotson can really take a leap to that next level
Right.
as a rookie. So yeah, I'm not I'm in on Dylan. I like Dotson as a pivot maybe, but
Mm.
I'm not for Damian Harris and Lazard this week.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. So what's your final answer then?
Oh, it's AJ Dillon. I just
AJ
wanted to
Dillon.
talk about
Okay.
Jahan
Okay.
Dotson for a little bit.
Yeah. I got me confused a little bit there, but yeah,
I
I
mean,
agree. It's AJ Dillon.
yeah.
Like we just talked about how the Packers offense doesn't exist, even less so than it did before, right? So AJ Dillon is just a prime candidate,
And even
man.
in Jones's big game, Dillon actually did have a higher
Right.
opportunity share and more targets.
For sure. For sure. It's just upside and floor in the same. Maybe not the most upside, but definitely like you can have a safe play that still has potential, right? So that's just very
Yeah,
important.
and because it is a flex, that's kind of where that strategy comes
Right.
into.
Right.
Is
Of
is
course.
he has a much higher ceiling than Damian Harris does, and Jahan Dotson has a much lower floor than AJ Dillon does. So you take the guy that has the stable floor with the higher ceiling.
Yeah. That's that's it. That's it. That's the strategy. So there you go, Joe. Hopefully it works out. Let me know if you need anything else. We're here. Will says that's dope. Pleasure to see you both together. That's awesome. I mean, it's awesome to be
Yeah.
here. Honestly,
It was so cool seeing him.
great seeing you.
Yeah.
Um,
My heart is just so warm.
so now let's get to the question. So Kamara able to play today? We just started him over guys like Jeff Wilson, CH, James Robinson, and other plug and play RBs. People are getting very nervous about Kamara.
Yep.
Are you nervous about Kamara?
Well, it's somebody that I didn't really bring up in our injury talk because I knew we were going to get to him as well. He did log a full practice, so
Right.
that's obviously encouraging. And it said the beat, because I'm the resident Saints fan, so I
Right,
follow the
right.
beat reporters. Nick Underhill being the boy. Go follow Nick Underhill on Twitter. That guy knows everything about the team. So saying what they did, and they were essentially saying that Kamara was working with full explosivity, in a full 3 down, like he played all of the practice snaps. They didn't really bring Tony Jones, their Mark Ingram, and that could obviously be a product of them getting him up to system for this week. So I think if they were intending on bringing out Kamara for a game where they have to lean on him against the Panthers and a grinded out good defense, I think this is the
Right.
game. So I mean, personally, yeah, even bias aside, the only one that I would really consider not or sitting Kamara for, I think, would be CEH right now, and I'm terrified of that low usage. Like, I get that CEH has just put up 2 back-to-back incredible weeks, but he has a lower market share of routes than Jerick McKinnon does, and
Wow.
has played like 36% of the offensive snaps in week 2, and that game
Okay.
wasn't a blowout.
Yeah.
In week 1, it was really hard to be like, oh well, CH just scored 2 touchdowns. Why would you keep him in the game? They're up by 40. But in week 2, when that low usage continued a bit, that was when I was like, oh man, if these touchdowns go away, we are in for some seriously terrifying regression.
Right. 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 So short
It's
answer.
it's Kamara.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to start Kamara, and I think the Saints are smart enough to, like, they've kept him out. They know when to bring that guy back, and they don't want to lose games.
Right. Yeah.
They don't have their draft picks. They're here to win.
They don't even have a QB.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
like all due respect to everyone involved, they're not a Super Bowl team.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, tough situation for them. But yeah, we were like borderline on Kamara last week. He kind of practiced. It was said he was gonna be like in for 10 snaps. Then he decided like he was gonna be in for 0 snaps. But like we told you not to start him this week. You can be a little bit more comfortable starting him. It's a different situation. So yeah, go ahead, Will.
I think so, especially when the pivots are that like to me that it's the ceiling play is CEH. Jeff Wilson is obviously Shanahan offense, all that goodness, but Jimmy G's back. I would like to see that offense in a full game with him before I really trust anyone outside of Samuel or Kittle for that matter, because Kittle's back as well. Um, and yeah, it's definitely Kamara.
Yeah, yeah. So there you go. Hope that answers your question. I just want to say, if you're watching on Twitter and you're asking questions, we're not gonna be able to get to those. So if you wanna ask your questions and them being answered, go to youtube.com/protofantasy. I think it is. If not, just look for Proto Fantasy on YouTube. The live stream's up there as well. So that's where we see the questions. I don't know why it doesn't let me see Twitter questions. I apologize, but we want the YouTube questions. So those are the ones we can answer. And the crunch time guarantees we're gonna answer every single question. So onto like end broadcast. So if you have a question, bring it over and we're gonna answer it. So let's go. Next question is again Big Will. He says half point PPR. Need two starting wide receivers, two flex: Higgins, Hollywood Brown, Curtis Samuel, Pittman, Juju, Gage, and Lamb.
Need two starting wide receivers. Well, the answer is
and two flex.
And two flex.
Pick four out of
okay,
this.
okay.
Just kind of like leave two out.
So is there a Monday night game here? Because then some strategy would come into play. Okay, there is one with Lamb. Okay, well I would say you could feel pretty confident starting Higgins and Lamb. Hollywood, Pittman, man, that's a stacked lineup of receivers to pick from. It's a good lineup, Will.
That's the first thing.
Half point PPR. Pittman first game back from the quad. Samuel's kind of been getting good. It's Higgins, Lamb, Hollywood, and then the third one's getting tough for me. But it's Higgins, Lamb, Hollywood out the gate. I can say that easy. But between Samuel, Pittman, Juju, and Gage. Okay, we can eliminate Gage. I'm okay with doing that. Even though that, he's maybe the only receiver that got in a practice this week.
I agree though.
But I'm fine with eliminating him over those other options specifically. It comes down to kind of Curtis Samuel or Michael Pittman, and I can't believe that's even a question. Like it should be Michael Pittman. That should obviously be where we all want to lean, but Curtis Samuel has looked so good.
Yeah.
It's tough to trust Juju right now. I think we can eliminate him as well. Week 1 was really encouraging to see him lead all the receivers in routes run, in snaps, targets, yards, catches, and Travis Kelce obviously was the de facto wide receiver 1, but Juju led the entire receiving core in week 1 and then took a massive step back in week 2 with 3 catches for 10 yards. So I think it's really hard to trust him consistently in your lineups at all until you start seeing back-to-back games of that week 1 upside.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad because I was a big Juju guy in the offseason.
I'm still very into it. I'm not giving up on him.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm not giving up on him, but I'm just not starting him right now.
Not over those other options either. And again, I think the safe play would probably be Michael Pittman. It seems like if that guy can take the field, that he's going. The Colts offense looked so bad against the Jaguars, and there was really only one missing piece, and that was Michael Pittman. And we obviously thought that Jonathan Taylor could just run all over that team and do whatever he wanted. Some poor play calling led to them being down early and abandoning the run game. So Michael Pittman is essentially who that offense moves through when they need to throw the ball. There is no one else. And you saw them lose to a Jacksonville Jaguars team 24-0 without Michael Pittman. So even at a 90% or an 85% Michael Pittman, I like targets, and targets are something that I certainly would base rankings and matchups off of how I value certain players, or opportunity is king. And I think Michael Pittman gets the most valuable opportunities and highest looks in that game. Again, that Philly secondary is difficult, man. It's going to be tough to pass the ball or it's going to be tough for Washington to pass the ball on Philly. So Higgins, Hollywood, Pittman, Lamb.
Yeah, that's a good assessment. The only other guy I may have considered would be Curtis Samuel. We spoke about him earlier a little bit, but who do you start him over, right?
Exactly.
So that's what it comes down to. So there you go, Will. Hopefully that answers your questions. He also added as a 0 RB drafter. I love wide receivers, and you can tell he does.
Yeah, that was a good draft. I mean, Samuel's turned into a really incredible late round steal in these first 2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah, yes. Now we have Boyd. He says, "Good morning, fellas. Sorry I'm late. Hey, no worries. Glad you're here." Also, Mike is like echoing. Might just be me. Oh, yeah, that might be because we're in the same place. So I might just go like move over here a little bit.
I can also I'll turn my mic.
Oh, like fully off.
We
All
could
right.
share a mic
Yeah.
if you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Having more like a show right here in the middle. All right. So there's not gonna be any echo anymore. Uh,
Thanks for the heads up.
yeah. Thank you. So let's see. Yeah, wide receiver supremacy. That's 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 right. Honestly, I've become more of a zero RB drafter myself recently. Honestly, I was not like that before. I've been turned. I've
I
been
mean,
turned.
so has the NFL.
Right.
That we kind of like, art imitates life and vice versa, right? So fantasy football, when opportunities start being allocated and wide receivers start making all of the money and wide, running backs are the workhorse running back is kind of a thing of the past. It makes sense that you want to value wide receivers more than running backs in fantasy football
Right.
because that's how
Right.
the NFL values them.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. All right. So we have a bunch of comments on our Mikeception. But
Sorry, boys.
now we have Constantine. We have non PPR. Do I risk starting Mike Williams with limited QV over Bateman, Garrett Wilson, or AJ Dillon? I'm currently starting Lamb, London, and
Hendy being
Henderson.
Daryl.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
I'm thinking Daryl Henderson. Mike Williams, limited QB. Keenan Allen is still a question. The QB is a question. Mike Williams has not been great this season. Bateman has surprised people. Garrett Wilson has been insane. And Dylan, we already spoke on Dylan, and I
So I
think
mean, right there, especially in non PPR, I'm starting Dylan over Henderson. I think.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
like Joe just mentioned in the chat that the Bucks are a tough defense, but I'm not terribly worried about that, honestly.
yeah, it's true. The Bucks. I mean, the Bucks have allowed but they also. I mean, okay, so traditionally, yeah, the Bucks are a really good defense, and the Saints are a really tough matchup for them on both sides of the football. So it's kind of a hard thing to like gauge off of. But like Mark Ingram lit them up, and that Saints offensive line messed them up. And I obviously think AJ Dillon is a little bit better than Mark Ingram, and the Saints offensive line isn't what it used to be. So even without, but like he is expected to play, he's just injured. So even without Bakhtari, it's I'm okay with the Packers being able to run the football on that team.
Right, right, yeah. So will you start Mike Williams?
Over Bateman, Garrett Wilson. You know,
Like Wilson, we've seen him do it once. Like we don't know if this is a regular occurrence, like if he's an
I,
alpha or not. So might consider that honestly, but
it's that Cincinnati's defense too. They've
oh
been
right,
struggling. They've been
yeah,
really struggling in the secondary. They've been incredible up front, which is something that it's usually you see a defense work more cohesively as a unit. But they've been really, really good at stopping the run and just can't do anything against the pass. So that also might be like inverse statistic where it's like, well, why would we run the ball against them? You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
So
right,
it's kind of like the same when the Saints defense was absolutely terrible. They used to lead the league in rushing yards against, and this was like before they turned into the defense that they were, and that was just because teams would throw the ball 50 times a game.
right.
Because it was like, well, why would we ever run on a team that can't stop the pass?
True, true.
So that I mean, there's definitely something to be said about kind of that narrative. It, but I like Garrett Wilson. I like Elijah Moore against Cincinnati. I certainly like them a lot. And with Keenan Allen potentially being back, Justin Herbert being as hurt as he is, Mike Williams being the deep threat kind of thing that decoy, well, not a decoy, but the deep threat primary,
Right, yeah. The deep
like
threat option is deep,
option.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's the right word, Cass. Thanks. Yeah, it's tough to trust him in an offense that might be very limited. So I like Bateman. I like Wilson, Dillon, Lamb, London, Henderson. Like I think those would be my starting options,
There you go.
especially in non PPR.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, right, it's non PPR, so that does change things. Like especially for Dylan, who's not the biggest pass catcher. Aaron Jones would have that role in that team. But yeah, so I agree with you. Igor Constantine. Hopefully that answers your question. It works. Uh, I literally had no clue you were sitting next to each other because you missed the start, bro. Like I told you, you were not supposed to miss the start this week. But yeah, yeah, here we are, all together. That's why the mics were bugging out a little bit.
Yeah.
You guys straight up look like me and my best friend when we were 15 gaming at each other's houses. Yeah, yeah, I get that, bro.
You had a beard like this when you were 15?
Yeah, of course.
Jealous.
You've never seen Boyd? Yeah, he got a crazy beard. Filled me with a ton of joy. Hey, me too, honestly. Like, I'm
Yeah.
having a ton of fun.
Yeah,
Just hanging
opening
out
the
here with
door
my
for
boy.
him this morning was an experience. Like
Yeah,
an out of body experience. I couldn't believe that he was in front of me.
finally meeting in person. All right. So Joe trusting the Bucks D. Yeah, I mean, sorry, Dylan facing the Bucks D. We already went over that. We
Yeah,
have
I'm not. I don't think I'm as worried as other people are. Like, yeah, Zeke and Pollard had a tough time moving the ball, but Dallas's offensive line got essentially lost two-star offensive linemen in the first drive of the game, and the Saints ran against them quite easily. Actually, Mark Ingram had 10 carries for 66. Tony Jones had like 5 for 40. So like I'm not as worried. I not against the defensive matchup. The thing I'm more worried about is the hot hand, and obviously Aaron Jones looked
right.
great last week. But again, as we mentioned earlier, AJ Dillon did have a higher opportunity share than Aaron Jones did. Aaron Jones just got hot and scored.
Right. We have. Thanks for taking my question. This is my first time here. Keep up the good work. Thank you. That's actually the crunch time guarantee. If you come here, you ask a question, we're gonna answer it. If we don't answer it, it's because either we like I missed it, so just like send it again, or we're just like backlogged on questions. You gotta send it like well, just gotta wait a little bit. You got it at a perfect time. So yeah, hopefully you like it. Hopefully it works out, and hopefully we see you here next week. Thank you for being here. All right. Next question from Alex. He says Damon Harris or Jamal Williams PPR.
Harris.
Yeah, yeah, it's
I'll take
Harris.
the
It's
starter.
Harris. Yeah, precisely. Right. Williams has gotten all like goal line work, and but you don't want to risk it on
And,
whether he gets the vulture TD and
right,
shit.
and
Right.
that's kind of
So
I predicted Williams as my sleeper last week because of kind of a limited DeAndre Swift, and then even a limited DeAndre Swift caught a pass, fell down, and beat 6 defenders to the goal line.
yeah, that was
That
crazy.
was one of the most explosive like plays of the year. When you talk about finishing runs, like that was incredible. So yeah, Jamal has he has standalone upside because of the like they will and they did they gave him two um, rushes inside the 5 and he just couldn't pop the goal line in that last game. So I do like Jamal Williams as a handcuff, and I like him as a low end flex with touchdown upside. But in a situation like this, just take the starter. And Ramondre has not looked good.
No, no, he has not. And yeah, yeah, the starter. It is PP. Well, I mean, PPR still doesn't matter.
Not
Damien
between
Harris.
these two
Yeah,
guys
no, not
specifically.
between
Yeah.
these two guys. Zero catches between them probably, but we'll see. All right, we have Sahida, Keenan, CD, Dodson, Garrett Wilson, Samuel, McLaurin. Pick three, please. All right. This is a good group, honestly.
Yep.
It's not gonna be easy picking. I like to do like order of elimination. Who are you definitely keeping in? Um,
Lamb.
yeah, I was gonna say CD.
Yeah.
Keenan is a question. Right now he's in the afternoon games. Questionable, no quarterback probably. So I'm keeping
And I mean,
him.
like one good hit, and you're not going to see him scramble at all. But like one sack or one good hit is probably going to take Justin Herbert out of this game.
If he plays, right?
Exactly. Yes. So I mean, Keenan's going to be a desperation start for me. I do have to start. I play in so many leagues. I do have to start Keenan in a few deeper leagues and leagues where there aren't really many pivots and waivers are bare. Um, Definitely, it's CD Lamb for sure. I feel really good about, um,
Yeah, that's the, like for sure start, right?
and I feel really good about those Jets receivers against Cincinnati today. Uh, so I think it's Garrett Wilson.
Okay, okay. So we got CD Wilson. I don't know if Sahida's a Washington fan because They got Dotson, Samuel, and
And
McLaurin.
McLaurin.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Are you considering any of them for like your third slot?
Those out of those three, I'm honestly leaning Curtis Samuel.
Curtis Samuel, new wide receiver one in town.
It's kind of true. And I mean, Ron Rivera loved him in Carolina as well. And that was one of
Oh,
the
that's
first
true.
times
That's
that we
true.
ever really saw and it was very light and it was very limited packaging. But,
Like,
every time we saw like a wide receiver consistently line up in the
right,
backfield.
right, yeah.
So,
That hybrid role.
yeah. So before Debo, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I like a healthy Curtis Samuel. I've always kind of been in on Curtis, and he's performing up to the level that we all assumed he could when healthy. And Carson Wentz is the top three quarterback of the league,
That's
apparently.
crazy. That is insane, actually. But
So
yeah. So yeah, I think our final answer is
it's just start Keenan. It would be
right.
Keenan in a vacuum
Right, right.
immediately.
But you got to take into account the situation, everything that's going on, whether he has a quarterback or not. So for this particular week, I think we're agreeing on CD, Wilson, Samuel as the three we would
Yep.
start. So good luck. Hopefully it works out. If Keenan Allen goes for like 6 TDs, don't like yeah, come at us, but
You
be
can definitely
gentle.
come at me
Yeah,
for
be
that one.
gentle. All
If that
right.
happens, I am sorry.
Good luck. We have Boyd. Pick 3 out of these 5 receivers to start. Who are you starting with? PPR. Okay, PPR. DJ Moore, who I know is your bust for the week,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So starting up hot. Juju, who we already talked about and we don't really want to start. And Robinson, Metcalf, Julio Jones.
For now, Julio,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
because
Julio.
he's got the juice, bro.
Right, of course. Is he in?
Game time decision.
Okay, so that does make it a little bit
Game time
interesting.
decision, and it's a knee, the same thing that kept him out last week. He was also limited in practice, but I don't. But he only got in one limited practice.
Yeah. So like they're on the second slot right now for the set of games.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a little bit
So
tough.
3 of 5. Okay. As
Metcalf.
much as I'm DJ Moore, Marshawn Lattimore, not great.
Oh right.
That's all I can say to that. Um, Allen Robinson, we know that our fellow Brodo brother from another mother, Mike, is tier down on Allen Robinson this week. And Tim is tier up. I'm kind of leaning towards the tier up. I like Allen Robinson this week. I mean, I think against the Cardinals there's going to be 70 points on the field that day. So it's Allen Robinson for me. It's definitely not Julio or Julio. Just because of the slot, you're going to have to essentially pray that he's there and then make a pivot if he's not, which would be a worse option than who you have on your team right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to go Juju. We're not giving up.
Still trust.
Yep. Allen Robinson. And I guess it would be DJ Moore over Metcalf for me, but very
All right.
slightly.
Okay. Okay. Is it full PPR?
Yeah, that would be why.
Yeah.
That's literally the only
Yeah.
reason. Even though I don't think that Juju's going to have a wide receiver one or maybe even high end wide receiver two game there, it's got to be just for the volume of opportunities that he's going to get.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I agree with that. And like DJ Moore has been better than Metcalf this season anyway, and DJ Moore has not been great.
No.
So,
And I mean, he's only got DJ Moore only has like what 3 touchdowns left to score this season before he can't
yeah,
score
of course,
anymore.
of course, of course.
So
It's the rules. It's the rules.
he may as well. I mean, it could be against the Saints.
All right, so there you go, Boyd. Hopefully that answers your question. Now we have in terms to get big up for Michigan again on the Lions game. Yeah, yeah. You should. You should. It's fun. It's fun to meet up like this. So, no doubt. We have another DJ Moore question. Have like the Hall Moore question by Gianluca. DJ Moore, Elijah Moore, Juju, and Hollywood need to start too. So
That one's pretty easy for me. I could nail that right away. It's
yeah,
Hollywood and
more than
Elijah.
Hollywood. Oh yeah, more. Yeah, Elijah and Hollywood for sure. We already spoken Juju. Like we're not super happy with how things are going. Still holding out hope, but just maybe not starting this week. And then DJ Moore is the Broto bust of the week by Mr. Matt Ward himself. So yeah, Elijah Moore, who has been playing pretty great, and you like Jets wide receivers against the Bengals this week.
Yeah.
Plus Hollywood, who has been all right, but like he's the wide receiver one for Kyler. So
Yeah, I mean, I think Hollywood's kind of been sneakily like he's better than people have been saying he isn't. But no, he's not really lived up to the expectations that we were all really, really excited about, or those that felt like that seventh round value was absolutely blasphemous. I'll be the first to admit that. No, he's not putting up top 12 numbers right now,
Yeah.
but he is averaging 14 points per game and playing against a defense that averages over 38%.
This group as well is very like very late-ish coin flip wide receivers. You got like DJ Moore has always been the promise, never really delivered. Elijah Moore, Mike was huge on Elijah Moore this season. Juju, I was huge on Juju.
Me too.
Hollywood,
And I
like
mean, I've always been very big on Hollywood.
yeah, yeah. So this is like a very interesting group, and hopefully they pan out more than they have so far. I
And I
would
think
love it,
like
but
I kind of go back to Boyd's question. It might be like blasphemous to say to start Juju over Metcalf at this point in the season, but
no.
looking at those offenses and the target allocation and the matchups that they have, I would still at any point rather take the upside on the Chiefs wide receiver one than the Seahawks number three pass catcher,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is sad that that's what, like, they're allocating targets to backup tight ends more than they are to Metcalf at this point. It's wild.
The Seahawks are a mess
Yeah,
right now, honestly. So yeah, we'll see about that.
it's unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. Now we have a little bit of banter, and then Tim says
A
Alan
little bit.
Lazard, Brees Hall, Tyler Lockett start two. I'm gonna let you take this. I'll be right back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cincy's defense worries me about Brees Hall, but the Bucks secondary worries me even more about Alan Lazard. So I can lean pretty easily to say Hall over Lazard there, especially. I mean, in PPR or half PPR, it would be a little closer to the running back, and PPR maybe a little closer to the wide receiver there. But I'm still going to lean Brees Hall over Alan Lazard. And then the second one shouldn't really be a question. I think Tyler Lockett showed enough that even in that offense being what it is, we can trust him to get the majority of the targets. If they're going to move the ball, it's going to be through him because that run game looks awful as well. The offensive line was kind of an aberration of success in week one. They looked terrible again in week two. But Tyler Lockett, nine targets, 8 receptions. So I feel really good about Tyler Lockett as the only pass catcher you can put as a flexible option in that offense. I mean, Metcalf at this point is a bench until further notice, in my opinion. There's really just nothing that, even as he's become a short slant kind of just across the middle, big body tight end on the outside now.
Yeah.
And that is just not conducive for fantasy success. So it's Brees Hall and Tyler Lockett for me. And I know you like Lazard, Tim. I know you're a Lazard guy, but we saw that offense, how they function with their wide receiver one, and it is 4 targets apiece to everybody on the offense with nobody really having a defined role, and Lazard getting some red zone looks. But you know how I feel about Brees Hall.
Yeah, yeah. So there you go. That was the full detailed answer. Hopefully that works for you, and hopefully we don't look like idiots.
I tried not to.
Good luck. Again, they had a nice little chat. Giancarlo Luca, Tim and Boyd. They're here.
Giancarlo Luca.
Yeah, yeah. I had no idea they were together in
Every
person until
time.
5 minutes after I started watching. Yeah, yeah, because you missed the start of the show where we did the big reveal.
The big reveal.
So yeah, I'm here in Vancouver with Matt. We're gonna handle all your questions. Just hit them. That's the combo, two-punch combo, right? Now in the same place. All right, we have a question from Jason. Says Dylan, Jeff Wilson, Esquire, or Zamir White.
Zamir White's a trap.
I agree.
I love Zeus, man. I like as the dynasty guy and the rookie encyclopedia, as Tim likes to call me. I love Zeus. I thought he was such a steal at the 4th round, and they got an injury discount on a guy that wasn't injured anymore. But Josh Jacobs did travel to Tennessee, as far as I heard. He is with the team, so he will also be a game time decision. He had an illness, so it's not an injury. If he feels like he is good enough to play, they will play him, and that will essentially just murder any Zamir White upside whatsoever. Jeff Wilson and AJ Dillon is really the question here, and I'm not as afraid of that Packers backfield against the Buccaneers defense as everybody else is. So I've said that before. I'm not as worried. I don't think that they will have a major issue running the football, but I do think they'll have a major issue scoring against that Bucks defense. And Rodgers has traditionally over the past 2 seasons, even back-to-back MVPs, has struggled
Yeah.
terribly against that Bucks defense. So just for scoring upside and volume of touches, knowing that Jeff Wilson won't really be in a committee with no other San Francisco 49ers running backs really being healthy other than Jordan Mason, it's got to be Jeff Wilson over Dylan by a slight edge. But again, for those with other Dylan questions, I'm not as worried about that Packers defense as others.
Look at that.
But Jeff
So
Wilson, Esquire, that
the
would be the
man,
starting option at running back for
the
this trio.
Esquire, JD. All right. So yeah, there you go, Jason. That's your answer. You gotta go with your colleague here. Uh, Now we got full PPR. Wait on Keenan Allen, which we've spoken about, a little bit risky, or strike Traylon Burks with no good replacement for Allen. That's a
That's
big
rough.
step down.
Yeah. No, that's rough. And I mean, obviously having no, I mean, really, it's no replacement for Burks, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
um, yeah, I think I'm going to start Traylon Burks. I think I'm going to start Traylon Burks here. That afternoon slot and Justin Herbert is really more concerning to me. I guess the question would be like, yeah, I know Tannehill's struggling, but would you rather a hurt Keenan Allen with Chase Daniels or Traylon Burks in a matchup where they're
yeah.
favored to win? Like that's really where it's coming down to for me. And I know that it's a risk adverse like floor play. I'm playing the safe points. I'd rather have 8.5 than none.
Yeah, yeah. I think it also depends on your current lineup. Because if you have a very floor constructed lineup and you want a guy like Keenan Allen to maybe break through and get you the win, or if you have a very a riskier build right now and you need some, I don't want to say like you could use a mediocre play. Like Traylon Burks is not gonna get you zero probably because like that could happen as well. Like it depends how risky your lineup is currently. If it's too risky, go with the floor play. If it's more solid and you could use that possibility of a Keenan Allen breakout, well, not breakout, but like big game. That also takes into account. But just like in a vacuum, like we said, it's just start Traylon Burks.
And Traylon's peripherals are looking really solid right now. Yeah, Drake London has the target share and Garrett Wilson has the big game, but Traylon's leading rookies in a lot of essentially per route, per snap metrics.
Right.
Highest rated yard per route run, yards per route, yards per target. So Traylon hasn't really gotten the opportunity to be the AJ Brown there yet, but with the
Yeah.
opportunity that they have given him, he's looked really solid.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So yeah, there you go, Jay. Hopefully that works out for you, for us, for everyone. Good
Yeah, I
luck.
hate being wrong, so help me out,
Uh,
Traylon.
we have just to keep going with the Petrov brothers. We have Johnny now, Noah Brown or Nelson Aguilar.
Johnny, what kind of teams are you constructing, bro?
Yeah, this is deep, like deep,
um,
deep.
honestly, and I saw it's because it's the Monday night
Oh yeah,
game.
Aguilar.
This is what worries me the most. With Noah Brown, I think he's a flash in the pan. That his production is essentially stemming from them having no other options. Now, Michael
Yeah,
Gallup,
and that's not sustainable.
no,
And production coming from Cooper Rush as
right,
well.
which is
So
also not sustainable.
not at all, not at all.
Although, man, like a lot of deeper pundits and people that enjoy and follow quarterback analytics because that's not my
Yeah,
game
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. Actually, would defend Cooper Rush quite deeply
I mean, I
because
will
he's
not say
looked
he's
very
garbage, but
very league average, so to speak, in
yeah,
every single one of his starts for the Cowboys. That being said, man, that's not great to choose from either or. But
right.
Jacoby's out,
Yeah, Jacoby's out.
so there we go,
So
right?
and Aguilar actually looked good against the
Dude,
Steelers yesterday.
that catch
Just
was
mossed
crazy.
the fuck out of who was like Witherspoon or something.
Dude, that catch
Yeah,
was wild.
yeah, yeah. So
Um,
yeah, I think I'm going Aguilar here.
I know it's crazy. Like, what year are we in? But yeah, it's. I'm gonna pick Nelson Aguilar, and there is a oft chance that Michael Gallup returns this week.
Oh, so look at that. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely not now Brown, especially because you have the uncertainty of not knowing till like Monday
And
night,
Noah
and you
Brown's
get screwed there.
spike of targets also came with Dalton Schultz out of the game for 3 quarters.
Right, right, right. Yeah. So there you go, Johnny. Hope that works out. I don't know when Disley got dissed, but
I was
Gianluca
I
was
was
not happy about it.
I was talking about
Oh yeah, the
Seahawks tight
Seahawks,
end.
right? Juju or Henderson,
Half
half
PPR.
PPR. This is interesting because it incorporates a lot of what we worked like talked about, and makes it tough.
Yeah. Uh, this one is tough. The Cardinals defense has not been super nice. Um, Raiders had a pretty easy path to moving the ball. Man, I'm kind of interested in continuing to follow those snap shares and opportunity shares for that Rams backfield because obviously Cam Akers looked absolutely horrendous in week 1 and they thought that horrendous performance was good enough to give him a 72% rush share in the next week. So
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty interesting for sure. Juju's somebody that I'm not really ready to give up on. Half PPR minimizes Juju's floor a little bit,
Yeah.
or ceiling rather, a little bit for me because I do think it's kind of a volume play, and Juju's big games are going to come with 7 for 75 and hopefully a TD. I am gonna man, I'm gonna go with the scoring matchup here. I'm gonna go with the higher over under, and I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go with Henderson in the Cardinals matchup.
All
It's
right.
so close for me though.
Yeah. 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 But I also get it from like I don't know, emotional perspective, not wanting to start Juju. So yeah, I think Henderson is the option right here. All right, we have a DST question.
Oh.
So Eagles or Chiefs? I mean, for me, the Chiefs are playing the Colts
Mm-hmm.
that looked absolutely awful against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like the Jaguars defense was one of the best last week because they played Colts. I know Pittman's back, but the Chiefs have looked great, and then honestly, it's not a bad play because the Eagles are playing the Commanders, and the Commanders are looking a lot more decent than the that Indy has, right? So
I do think that there's some sneaky turnover potential for that Chiefs side. I mean, I'm going to start the Eagles defense,
or
so
I
we
mean,
might be split here, but
oh, are you?
yeah,
The third option is the Bills. I just saw because, but like I guess he's instructed trusting him because like Micah Hyde's hurt and
that whole secondary is messed up right now.
yeah, yeah,
And I mean, again, it was a as quoted in the sleepers bust. It was a tale of two Tuas through 2 weeks.
yeah.
Um, so it's I think it's a better matchup than people are giving it credit for with Micah Hyde and that defense being as banged up as it is and the speed that the Dolphins have on the field. Man, just like the way that the Eagles shut the Vikings down and Darius Slay,
That was crazy.
I also still think it's a travesty that he didn't win Defensive Player of the Year last year, and he's certainly making an early case for it this year. So I feel good about the Eagles defense moving forward. I wouldn't roster all of these defenses.
Yeah,
So that's what
don't
I
do
mean.
that.
Like the Eagles defense is somebody that I would actually hold on to for their NFC East matchups as well and the schedule
True,
that they have.
true. Cooper Rush coming up.
So this it's a little bit more than a start sit for me. Like I like the Eagles defense for a season long defense as well. Obviously until bye week hits. And I think the matchup against the Commanders is yeah, they have looked really good. But the Commanders played the Jaguars in week 1 and then the Lions in week
Yeah,
2. So
that's
the
true.
Eagles defense is certainly a lot
That
better
is
than
true.
those. I know I do think that the Jaguars defense is being slept on, so I want to agree with you there as well.
That was
Speaking of
crazy.
Indian,
Eh?
man, Foy is just an incredible linebacker, and he's so good at commanding coverages and telling just orchestrating that defense with the green dot on his helmet. I love Alacoin. So yeah, it's the Eagles defense for me. So me and Cass might actually be split there, but I do think the Chiefs have sneaky turnover upside this week.
I don't think you can go wrong. It's hard to go wrong with DSTs, like quote unquote, because they're hard to predict. And so, like, if you're finding yourself in a good situation with your DST, it also like it can't go too wrong. Like it can, but just it's there's nothing we can do. Like you can't predict which is the defense is gonna You got to pick six that week, right?
Well, one of the things that we've always, preached in fantasies and start sits and kind of when you're making these decisions is like touchdowns are so unpredictable. So that works against and for defenses
Right,
and special teams
right,
as well,
yeah,
right? Like we
yeah,
don't touchdowns are just so wildly unpredictable and anybody that plays DFS knows that like those lower roster defenses that are supposed to have 35 points put up on them can often be that big money lineup winning, that week winning lineup because it's just so unpredictable.
right.
And that works tenfold for defensive touchdowns, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, it does. So, all right, you turned me. We're going with the Eagles here.
I just
Like, I still think that you can't go wrong, but let's go with the expert here
I
and
do think
trust
that
the
like the
Eagles.
Vikings again. I said it before. The Vikings are a much better offense than the Commanders, and the Commanders have had two pretty easy matchups. Um, and Darius Slay just looks like he's the best defender in football right now.
Yeah, he's been looking good. That's for sure. All right, so y'all together makes my heart happy. Yeah,
Me too, man.
yeah, me too.
Straight
Honestly.
up, Tim.
Oh, this is a good question. We have full PPR, Michael, Jason, or Tim. Um, start two. Like I'm guessing it's start two, or either you have a stacked team, or this is like a wide receiver two
Wait,
slash flex question.
I know for a fact that Michael is coming in hot off of like a 3 touchdown performance.
Right, right, right.
And, that is something that I am certainly. We say that touchdowns aren't sticky and are unpredictable, but like that guy's got the hot hand, and I think he, of anybody, can certainly keep that touchdown ceiling up.
All right, so we're starting Michael, and let's go Jason as his handcuff. So
Yeah,
you get double
I mean you
points,
have to
right?
you have to
Of course,
handcuff Michael with Jason.
you know that.
Sorry,
All
Tim.
right, Brandon says MVS, Boyd, Palmer, or Duvernay. I'm guessing it's just like pick one.
Pick one, yeah. I mean, why are people in on Devin Duvernay?
Because
no,
he scored two
no
touchdowns week
offense.
one.
Yeah, I know. Like, but it's yeah. Again, the quarterback situation is the most concerning part, rather than Keenan playing to increase Josh Palmer's ceiling again, because we saw with Keenan out, Josh Palmer had a pretty decent floor and then scored a touchdown.
Right.
Um, I think it's between MVS and Tyler Boyd here. Um,
Mm.
that one's a little bit tougher. The Cincy matchup doesn't necessarily scream shootout against the Jets. It does scream that they should be able to put up quite a few points early and then force a high ceiling of fantasy play for our boys Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson. And then again, why I was leaning Brees Hall is we saw he's dominated the target share slightly. I shouldn't have said dominated, but he has a slightly higher target share than Michael Carter this season.
Dominated, yeah.
Yeah, dominated is a little rough because they have been checking down a lot. But he does. He does have a higher target opportunity. He has seen fewer snaps than Carter in both games. A little bit off topic, but point being is I don't think that that's a huge shootout game. Every game with the Chiefs is a shootout. And Patrick Mahomes kind of told us at the beginning of the season that his receiving core is going to frustrate us for fantasy purposes. And through 2 weeks, we have seen that because he is him. Patrick Mahomes can throw it to whoever he wants, whenever he wants. It is his field and his football. And MVS is low key, you know, at least from a consistency standpoint, he was the receiver that was used in the exact same role 2 weeks in a row,
Right.
where Justin Watson came out and ran a deep route that got broken coverage and caught a touchdown, and then McCole Hardman was used a little more than he was in week 1 and week 2, and then Juju running the most snaps, most routes, everything was then taking a step back in week 2. But MVS had the exact same amount of essentially routes run from the same spot, same snaps, and the same target allocation. So I think he is the MVS's role, and with Patrick Mahomes, 4 targets and 50 yards with touchdown upside. I think I'm good starting MVS over Tyler Boyd here.
So there you go, Brandon. Hopefully it works out. It's this is slim pickings more like than the other questions, but yeah, I think that's the right answer. All right, Boyd says seeing all these confirmed outs for the Bills. I rode my bus B is really good. Yeah,
Well, he had Tua, and I have Mike Gesicki as well, so it does look a little. But I mean, talk about that for a second, man. Mike Gesicki losing snaps to Durham Smythe is definitely not something I had in my fantasy football bingo card to start the season.
yeah, it's crazy. That's actually insane. But yeah. Anyway, because he actually like scored in week one, or was it
Week
like
week
week two,
two,
yeah, against the
an
Ravens?
incredible catch too,
Yeah,
but also had like 2 targets and 42% of the snaps,
yeah, not
which is
great,
just
not great.
tough, man.
So, yikes. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. We have Mark here. De la Garza. What do you think I should go with, Justin Herbert or Kirk Cousins full PPR?
Cousins,
Yeah, definitely right now. Cousins, you have to go with the
100%.
safe option because either Herbert doesn't play, and well, the decision's easy. Like if you make the right call early on, I don't know where the Vikings play, but if they
The
have
the Vikings are on the Viking because they played the Monday night game or whatever. So the Vikings are on the early slate against the
right,
Lions,
so
which
you don't
has a
want to.
sneaky 52-point over under.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the Lions have put up, I think, 35 and 37 points in back-to-back games. So, like, all of a sudden, that
Very
offense can
interesting.
score.
Yeah, and you wanna get like put Herbert in, have Kirk play, and then can't switch him out. Like if you
Even in a
just
vacuum, I mean, if Justin Herbert was all fully healthy and everything was completely equal, yes, you would lean him, but I don't think it would be as far apart as people think against the Jaguars.
true, true, and still like you maybe Herbert does play. He comes in, he's limited. He like takes a hit, gets out. You don't want to risk that. And the drop off is not too bad to Kirk Cousins. So
It
yeah,
really isn't.
there you
I
go.
know he had a bad Monday night game, but he always has bad Monday night games, and he always bounces back from them with QB1 performances. So
Yeah, yeah. So you're good. Then we also have Kamara versus Robinson, and
I think we had a very
yeah,
similar one earlier.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
Kamara for me. Again, it's kind of the Swift situation from last week. If the Saints deem that guy healthy enough to be running as the beats reported at full explosivity in practice, then I'm fine putting him in a game time decision.
Yeah, right. So there it is. All right. So already starting off on a bus start with the A. I don't know what that's referring to, but yeah, we'll trust you, bro. Steelers defense sucking it up, so I need your help. Oh, that's probably like a different order. I'm out. I'm getting confused. Do you know what's going on?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um, so we let's go to
yeah.
Mitchell. Start one Conklin. Oh, Conklin, Schultz, or Knox. Ooh.
This might be contrarian, but it's actually kind of easy for me. With Knox being, or Schultz rather, being another game time decision that we talked about in the injury recaps, on a Monday night game at that, I'm pretty easily leaning Ty Conklin over Knox, which I think might be what is the contrarian. But
Yeah, but
Ty
yeah.
Conklin has played 100% of the Jet snaps in both games. CJ Uzoma and Jeremy Ruckert have barely seen the field, only in two tight end formations for Ruckert. Um, Conklin has played 100% of the snaps and has a 20% target share, and he's bringing that over from a 16% target share that he had in the Vikings alongside Jefferson and Thielen. Like, I think Tyler Conklin is a good tight end, and people are ignoring
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like, I think he's a good tight end. I don't think he's a streaming option anymore. I genuinely he's about to put up. I mean, at least consistently for the last, let's call it, 10 games of the 8 last season to close out and the 2 this season. He has over a 20% target share.
Yeah,
Like, that's a good tight end. That would be amongst the top 3 in the league if that was an entire season.
yeah. He was a popular waiver claim week one, but he kind of went under the radar after that. So yeah, honestly, it's not a bad option. So
And Knox was like, I'm not going to say a flash in the pan because I do think Dawson Knox is a very talented football player. But we all knew coming into the season that his tight end one finish was kind of propped up by unsustainable touchdown usage or touchdown scoring. Something that we just had never seen from him in his career, and his target share said that it probably shouldn't have happened.
yeah, that was a very low target share last
Right,
season for
so
that performance.
and even his red zone opportunities said that those touchdowns probably shouldn't have been as high
Yeah,
as they were.
yeah,
And then now we're seeing Stephon Diggs have 5 through 2 games and Knox have 0 and maintain an 8% target share.
yeah. So the writing's on the wall.
I do, and we were talking about Jets pass catchers against that Bengal defense this week as well, which I think they're all looking pretty decent.
Yeah, yeah. So there you go. Go with the Jet Boy against the Cincinnati Bengals. Who's Durham's Matt Ward on the pod?
Yeah. Oh wait. Like I mean, it's just blowing me away. I was so high on Gasecki coming in, just because of his role last season was so defined as the slot receiver. Like he played more slot snaps than most slot receivers did. He played 422 slot snaps as a tight end last year, and I was like, wow, okay, put him in the slot. You have Waddle and Reek on the outside. Like let's just let Mike G feast. Nope. It's Mike McDaniel's, and tight ends need to block, and Mike G doesn't block.
Yeah.
That's just it, man. I kind of didn't make the connection. It was foolish of me. Mike McDaniel coming over from 49ers, running the most beautiful run blocking schemes that any coach has ever seen in NFL history.
With Mike Gesicki.
Exactly. So you would, yeah. So we put a fullback there.
Of course. That's what you want. Yeah, and that's the exact feeling on that Dolphins tight end situation for me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy. Oh, he was talking about like he was responding in real time to us. So that's why it
Oh.
didn't make sense.
Okay.
We'll read it
Word.
back later. Yeah. Sorry, Mark. We have Charles now. It says, morning, guys. Happy week 3. Hey, happy week 3 to you, too. Got a long one. We got time. Full PPR. Have to start 2 running backs and a flex. So we got 3 players total. Gibson, Henry, Zeke, Gabe Davis, Dodson, Garrett Wilson, or Dobbins. Kenyon Drake is out, so Dobbins might be the more interesting option. I'm still not loving it, so let's just start at the beginning. I'm definitely starting Garrett Wilson in the flex.
Yep.
Oh, well, Garrett Wilson or Gabe Davis?
Wilson.
Okay,
Yep.
there you go. Gabe Davis. Oh, sorry, not Gabe Davis. Garrett Wilson. And now we have the 2 running backs, so choosing from Gibson, Henry, Zeke, and Dobbins.
Dobbins, with those other options, especially, that's where I
Right.
feel super comfortable being like, I can let Dobbins wait a week
Oh,
on
yeah.
my bench.
Oh, yeah.
With those 3 other options, if you're desperate, you got to start Dobbins. If your RB2 is J.D. McKissick or Naheem Hines, and I
Right.
have a few leagues where that is the case because I went heavy zero RB, almost to a fault in some places. But then I'm gonna start the where I grabbed my hero Dobbins late in the ninth or whatever. But considering you have those other options, it's really easy from a strategic standpoint to say, let's just bench Dobbins for a week and see what he has coming off of that brutal injury. I think it's hard to bench Antonio Gibson at this point in the season, man. Just with what we've seen from and Brian Robinson coming back may take some of that away if Robinson can be effective with some of those touches that Gibson has been getting. But he's had a very respectable target share. They're using him in the passing game, which we've just been begging Ron Rivera to do for the past 2 seasons. And he's the most efficient rusher on the team, and obviously earning a ridiculous opportunity share because J.D. McKissick doesn't run between the tackles. So it's really hard to sit Gibson, in my opinion, at this
Yeah.
point. It's hard to sit Derrick Henry at any point.
But how do you feel about Zeke, though?
I, I mean, I like having Zeke as a flex option right now. As an RB2, I feel like there's like, if Zeke was the flex option here, right, I would rather start Gabe Davis in that
Okay,
sense because
okay.
we're looking at so many
Yeah.
options here.
Yeah,
You would
yeah.
assume that they're kind of right. So that's where that kind of goes. It's like I would rather start Gabe Davis over Zeke. So it's Gibson and Henry as running backs, and then Garrett Wilson,
Mm. All right. So,
and then start Gabe Davis over Zeke, Zeke over Dotson and Dobbins.
makes sense. Makes sense to me. So, there you go, Charles. Hopefully that answered your question. We have another Dobbins questions coming out. So, Alex Shaw says Dobbins or Zay Jones. Now, this is kind of like what we talked about, more Dobbins versus Guy instead of Dobbins versus bona fide starter. So,
Right.
what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna go Dobbins here.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, and I'm kind of a Zay Jones guy. For one, I just love him as a person, but his target share has been respectable, and he's been getting some nice opportunities in that offense. Trevor Lawrence looked real comfy against the Colts. I'm worried about him against the Chargers, but it was my like most want to see matchup of the week because if Trevor Lawrence is a generational talent, then he's going to do it against good defenses, and the Chargers are a top tier defense. So I'm really excited about that matchup. Man, the Buccaneers have slow played a J.K. Dobbins that said he was 100% ready from the week 3 of the preseason.
Yeah,
And they've kept him
yeah.
out for 2 weeks. I know,
He
you
gotta
know,
be ready then, right?
right. So, and I know I've said as a manager, in the right situation, I think you can kind of just revert the risk and feel comfortable keeping him on your bench for 1 week to kind of see if you have a pivot option. But I wouldn't consider Zay Jones a strong pivot option. At that
Yeah.
point, you're almost playing similar floors, and you would think that Dobbins has a higher ceiling. Even if he has, let's say he can get 15 touches today, I think I would rather
Yeah.
a
Possible.
12, 10 to 12 even. I would rather a 10 to 12 touch Dobbins over a 6 target Zay Jones.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, there you go. That's your answer.
I mean,
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't disagree, but it's just Dobbins really does make me nervous, man. Honestly, but
same here. And I mean, that was the whole you good
that's
fools.
what we got talking about, right? So,
Yeah. And it's the Ravens certainly think so. I mean, they could have played him last week. They could have played him in week 1, and they did not. And they are playing him this week. Again, a pivot like a Zeke level, a Pollard, a Jahan Dotson, those types of players, I would pivot, yes. But Zay Jones is a very low floor player.
right,
The
right.
ceiling is attached to a thing that we cannot predict and might not happen against the Chargers, which is touchdowns.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the tough part, right? So, I'm definitely not going full speed ahead. Just to answer the question, but no.
Yeah.
Boyd says, I freaking love the conch. Yeah, the conch is good.
I think that's my point. I think he's just a good tight end.
All right, this one's I'm gonna defer to you. So is Monty a trap against Houston?
No.
Oh,
Yeah, no. I mean, for better or for worse, and it doesn't matter what the game situation is. Down 14, first and 10, second and 6, third and 2, they're running the football. And Houston is not good at run defense. Like that's pretty. I think that's pretty simple. I don't think Monty's a trap. I think he might be the only player on that offense that you can start. I mean, Justin Fields played in a monsoon in week 1 and attempted and completed fewer passes in a game that he was down no less than 7 from the opening drive the entire time.
yeah,
11 pass attempts. Monty had
yeah,
26 rushes.
yeah. I mean, but it's no, there's no monsoon anymore.
And there's well, but that was against the Packers. Like they let Montgomery run the ball almost 30 times when they were losing the entire game.
That's true. That is
And
very true.
Chicago's surprisingly favored to win this game somehow. I guess it's because Houston's coming out of a loss and a tie, and Chicago actually has a win on the season. I genuinely think that Houston can win this game. And that being said, there might be 24 points total scored. So the Bears doing what they're doing with Justin Fields, like again, for better or for worse, Monty's going to get 25 touches. And against Houston, any running back getting 25 touches is a recipe that
It's just points
yeah,
equals points.
is exactly.
So yeah, there you go. That's the
He had
answer.
a pretty
Jay.
good game against the Packers.
Yeah. Let's get to Jordan's question. Okay, so with Mike Evans suspended, I moved Mike Williams to my wide receiver 2. Yeah, that suspension is very fucking funny. Not gonna lie. So I need a flex, Devonta Smith or Miko Hardman. It's Smith, right?
Yeah, 100% Devontae. Yeah, I mean Devontae had a phenomenal bounce back in my opinion. To really prove what his role with AJ Brown is, and he's Chris Godwin. He's the Chris Godwin to AJ Brown's big alpha target share.
Right.
And I'm not saying that like AJ Brown's Mike Evans. I just mean we have seen time and time again a good quarterback be able to support 2 wide receiver options in the top 24, with one of them being a 25+% target guy and the other guy being right around 2022 and just getting peppered with lower volume targets.
Right.
And that's Devontae Smith, and he's consistently open and has some of the best hands in the league. He hasn't dropped a pass yet this season.
Oh, did not know that.
Yeah, he's caught every
I
one of
did
his
not know
targets.
that. Nice.
Yeah, he's 100% catch rate right
Oh,
now. So
awesome.
yeah,
So yeah, there you go.
yeah, Devontae, love Devontae.
Hopefully it works out. I think it's a pretty clear cut question for me, so that's what I would do, no doubt. Mark has another question. Would you play Henderson or Dillon full PPR having Bucks D?
I think
Like just before we answer that, I don't care about the defense you have or the
that's
defense your opponent has or
mhm.
anything, unless it's like Very noticeable, but it's like if it's bad, you're not starting that defense anyway, right?
Exactly.
So if it's like all right, just like you'll be fine. All teams score points. All teams like all defenses are gonna face someone else. So I don't care about that. If you think the Bucks D gives you a better chance at winning, and also starting Henderson or starting Dylan gives you a better chance of winning. Just always start the guy that's going to score more points and gives you a better chance. I don't care about like these. Oh, I have this defense. My opponent has this quarterback. I don't care.
Yeah, especially in like managed leagues. In DFS, that stuff matters a little bit more because you're talking about ownership percentage, and you don't want to own a low floor play that has a high ownership because you're not passing anybody in a big tournament. You're just going to sit in a pack of people that are right below the payout structure. So those types of strategies mattered more kind of in DFS and best ball. But yeah, I don't really ever consider those like reasons to not start a player in managed redraft or dynasty
Right,
leagues for that matter as
right.
well. And we were talking about this a little bit. I'm not as worried about the Bucks defensive matchup for Dylan and Jones as other people are.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm almost like pretty comfortable to lean Dylan here. I don't think Daryl Henderson is very good. If we're, I'll finally throw my hot take out there because I was kind of waiting on it. Week one, he did get such a large opportunity share, and Cam Akers was essentially not used. And then week two it was more of a split with Cam Akers getting more. And Daryl Henderson just doesn't look good when he's on the field, man.
yeah, yeah. Not the best. Definitely not the best. So yeah, there you go. That's your answer. Now we have an interesting one coming up. So should I start? Should I drop Tunyon and pick up and start Conklin?
I would,
Yeah, yeah. I
honestly,
think I think I
I would
agree.
do that for the rest of the season.
I think I agree. This is
Yeah,
something you could do. Trey is back. Yo, bros. Full BPR, better flex play today. Curtis Samuel or Lockett? Samuel, right?
yeah,
I'm thinking Samuel.
yep.
Yeah.
Full PPR too. Yep.
So yeah, there you go. Just lock it in.
I think that's yep.
We have Alejandro coming back. Let's
Nice.
have another day full of dubs, boys. Yep. Full PPR start one Sutton Kirk, Marquise Brown. It's a 10-man. Other two starters are Chase and Hill.
Well, you're obviously going to keep them.
Yeah. So I'm
I
thinking like Marquise
Marquise.
Brown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's just all of Marquise's peripherals say that he's just on the edge of a top 12 positional performance essentially, and I think this is as good as a matchup of any for him to finally realize that potential.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just don't think you can
I like
take
this.
the Cardinals week 1 for anything other than what it was, and that was just an absolute like collapse of the offensive
Yeah.
system.
What was that?
And in week 2, in a come from behind, chaotic overtime Kyler Murray magic game, Marquise Brown led the team with 11 targets.
Yeah.
So I think that is more so
Which is still
what
not a
you're going to
lot,
see.
honestly, but
No, and he did have 49 pass attempts too.
yeah.
So it was a lower target share than Marquise had been earning career wise. But I mean, it's yeah, it's Marquise either way.
All right. So yeah, I think that's an easy one. We have Joe coming back. I have a question for you. Do you think about this trade? Pollard and another manager has seek. He wants Pollard full PPR. So like straight up? No. Well, we need to know more
More
details.
details, yeah.
Yeah, like
Who's the trade involving?
because
Because if it's
on
Pollard for
principle,
Zeke, in redraft, I'll just trade Pollard for Zeke straight up. Is that like, yeah,
I mean, yeah, well, yeah,
yeah.
we need more details on that. All right, let's get another one from Charles. Got one more full PPR. Lost Renfro as a flex. It's hide in between Palmer, Stevenson, Hines, AJ Green, or McKissick. Oof, not pretty.
That is not pretty.
Palmer would have been a good option if we had certainty on Herbert, which we don't. Stevenson I look bad.
He's just looked straight up bad.
Hines is just fringy. Like you kind of need an injury for him to be decent. AJ Green, if probably McKissick. Honestly, for me,
Yeah, I'm not mad at that, man. I
what are you
would go.
thinking though?
I think I would go Hines slightly over McKissick.
Okay,
Um,
same type of player, so
yeah,
I'll take
same
it.
type of player. I mean, they're really just I mean, they are the same player. You could swap jerseys and nobody would notice, man.
However, one of them has a better player in front. I will say.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes, but yeah, yep. And one of them does have a better matchup on paper this week as well,
mm,
which is the Commanders. play the Eagles, which is obviously difficult. So Hines against the Colts, or against the Chiefs rather, is I
That
think
is
a
true.
better scoring matchup on paper. Um, I would yeah, I would lean Naheem Hines here.
All right. I'm
I
trusting
don't.
Matt on
I
this
really
one.
think you're going to get similar production from McKissick if that's what your heart tells you to. You could probably flip a coin and it's 9 points per game.
So yeah, it's that's where we're leaning, and I'm trusting Matt on the final decision. Yeah. Oh, Joe, you said it straight up the trade.
Yeah, I would trade Pollard for Zeke.
Yeah.
I in
Yeah.
redraft leagues, I
Yeah.
would trade Tony Pollard for
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott.
Go ahead. Go
Yep.
ahead. Wow. Okay.
I that's not very difficult.
All right. Well, another one from Alejandro. He says, start one between Mariota, Daniel Jones, and full PPR. Should I chance playing Mike Williams? I wouldn't. It depends on your options. Or start Curtis Samuel. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
start
do that.
Curtis. I mean, and yes, stud Eagles defense for sure, but you would. I'm going to go ahead and assume that Slay is going to shadow Terry McLaurin. I think it's just because he has so many times and been so successful doing it. They play in the same division, and they have for essentially all of Terry's career. And Slay's career numbers against Terry are very good. And yes, the Eagles might have game planned Curtis Samuel to be the wide receiver one, but just considering that you can with familiarity lock down one certain player, and that would be we'll just keep Slay on Samuel or on Terry McLaurin rather. That should open up some good opportunities for Curtis Samuel, especially considering his role isn't really the crossing route deeper threat guy that Terry McLaurin is. It's a kind of a hybrid wide back role. A lot of low depth of target, a lot of good downfield blocking schemes that are working in the opposite direction of the zone, and he gets some really interesting gadget plays drawn up for him as well that can open up huge gains.
Yeah. Yeah. That that
Oh,
that's
and the
possible.
first question, Mariota.
Oh yeah, yeah. We just kind of yeah. We brushed past that, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Mariota,
He has been playing a lot better than I thought he would.
and just
Uh,
better than Daniel Jones
yeah,
too.
yeah. Also, we have Jordan Riley, Tyler Higbee, T.J. Hawkinson, full PPR. Wait, Higbee
Higby's been good.
has been solid. Like
I got to shout out.
Nick Bollier, yeah,
Yeah,
has been
I
in
know.
the chat, just banging the drum. Like he went like 7 from 70. No, not 7.
Yeah,
Did he have
yeah, yeah.
7? Oh
7 catches for
shit.
74.
Yeah. So like full PPR, that is
Behind
a lot of
Cup,
points.
behind Cup in targets, both games. So game week 1 and week 2 was second on the team in targets behind Cooper Cup, ahead of Allen Robinson. Route participation is through the roof for a tight end, which is like they are not taking him off the field.
Yeah. So
And yeah, shout out Nick, man. I was wrong, Nick.
so you say go with Higbee?
It's Higby for me. Yeah, Hawk's also questionable. And if you've been watching some of those really awesome breakdowns of the Detroit Lions offensive line that have been popping up all over the internet that are going viral, they have the best offensive line in football right now. I don't care what anybody says. The Lions have the best offensive line in football, and T.J. Hawkinson is low key a big part of that. That kid's a phenomenal blocker. And that sucks for fantasy,
Right.
but
Right.
it looks really good on the Lions. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. That's your answer. We have best of luck today. You too.
You too, brother.
I
Thank you.
appreciate y'all. We appreciate you, Trey. Thanks for tuning in. Alejandro, sorry boys, I'm in a lot of leagues. I get that. Like, don't need to apologize.
Me too, man.
Full PPR, Kirk. I'm assuming Christian.
Yeah.
And Drake London. I'm going Drake, probably. Right.
I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, 'cause I know you're a Kirk guy.
Yeah, I am.
But also you're a Saints guy.
Yeah.
And Drake London has been tearing it up, so I'm a big fan. Like, I'd rather take the upside play when he.
Yeah, and I mean, what is also incredibly impressive to me about Drake London is, well, for one, he led the league in target share last week with over 46% of
Wow.
the targets, in week 2, and more impressively, he had a good game in week 1 as well, and his 2 defensive matchups in those games with over 80% of the coverage on his routes run were Marshawn Lattimore and Jalen Ramsey. So that kid is good at football.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not going to get any tougher coverage matchups than that. He arguably had the 2 toughest coverage matchups in the entire NFL, other than Darius Slay, in the first 2
He
weeks
did
of his
well.
career,
He
and
did well.
really well.
So yeah, there
Exactly.
you go. There you go, Alejandro.
I think
So,
I'm going to go London there
good
too.
luck with that. Mark, got you think about hey, you're welcome. Pollard for Zeke redraft straight up.
That's such
crazy.
a wild trade.
That's crazy.
I'd be incredibly happy with that.
All right, so we have Jason, not fantasy, but kinda. Which underdog is winning today? I have a hot take a little bit, but I know that's gonna make him happy. But I have the Jets with the possibility to win today, especially with how bad the Bengals have looked. Like they lost to Cooper Rush and Mitch Trubisky. So like going from the Super Bowl, like being contenders to win the Super Bowl, to losing to Cooper Rush and Mitch Trubisky in back-to-back weeks, you gotta give it to the Jets with a chance to make some noise here.
Boyd said the Lions,
Oh, yeah,
JK.
the Lions.
But the Lions could low key beat Minnesota. I mean, they could. It's just considering
Mm.
you start if that game really does turn into the shootout that even Vegas is projecting it to be. The Lions have put up over 35 points twice, so it's not that crazy, Boyd. Like but for me, my underdog. I already said it earlier. I think the Texans beat the Bears today.
That's what Boyd says next. Like I think Texans beat the
Yeah,
Bears, but that's not much
I'm
of an
not even reading the
underdog.
chat, Boyd.
It's like a
So
3 point spread. Yeah, no, but like, there's like a 1 point
3 point spread.
spread.
Okay,
Yeah, there's like a 1 point spread for
for like 5 different
yeah.
games.
Falcons have a 1 point spread. 49ers have a 1 point. Cowboys have a 1 point. So it's just kind of weird out here. They don't trust themselves. But anyway, the Ryan says start two Zeke, Kirk, Thielen, DK. Uh,
Kirk and Zeke.
I was about to say, yeah. I was just considering, like either
Thielen.
Thielen,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely not DK,
Man,
but
I'm worried about DK Metcalf. I love him for my dynasty builds that I was punting 2022 and just looking for 2023 production and upside, like big value swings coming into the
yeah,
2023
yeah,
season, like trying to get 1-1 by having a low enough floor to finish last in my startups this season. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I
I,
agree.
I I'm not dropping
It's
DK
half
anywhere,
PPR, by the
but
way.
it's worrisome.
Half PPR. All right.
Yeah,
So
then that makes me want Zeke over Thielen for sure, and then
yeah.
Christian Kirk. Yeah.
All right. So next question, we have Mitchell, Hollywood, Garrett Wilson, or Keenan Allen if he plays. Pick one full PPR.
Oh, I would just go get Hollywood and Garrett Wilson anyway, almost.
But I think it's just like pick one.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Hollywood.
That's where the hard one comes in.
Hollywood. Hollywood's my sleeper of the week. I think he's top 12 this week. I think he finally breaks through.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So
I mean, I
even
have
if
him
you
at wide
love,
receiver 12,
like, even
actually.
if you love Garrett Wilson,
Oh, I know, but man, very few people love Garrett Wilson more than I do. That was wide receiver 1 pre draft, wide receiver 1A post draft, because, I mean, you get an alpha early declare with top 9 or an 8th overall pick. Like, it's pretty hard to deny the upside of that hit rate of that profile. So obviously, you had to give Drake London a big boost after draft. But Garrett Wilson's always been the answer to me.
yeah. But this for this decision
Sorry.
specifically,
Yeah, I get in a dynasty mind all the time. Marquise Brown is in my top 12 receivers this week. Garrett Wilson is not.
oh wow. Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. That's your answer, Marquise Brown. Matt, don't do that.
Giving him
The
Lions hope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the Lions. I'm a Lions fan. I cannot have hope on Sunday.
That's fair. You should know better by now.
Okay, so we have 3 minutes left on the broadcast. I don't know how it flew by so fast. So this is your last chance to submit a question. For now, we're just gonna answer Alejandro's. Like if by the end of this answer we don't have another question, we're just gonna wrap it up. So let's go full PPR, Knox, or the Conk.
Conk.
Okay, that was a fast answer.
Man, I'm pretty confident in starting Tyler Conklin almost every week at this point.
Okay.
And we were talking about. I think there was a similar, but it was like a trio of options. I do still think that Dawson Knox has tight end 1 or top 12, not overall, but tight end 1 upside in his
Right,
weekly
right,
range of
right.
outcomes, but not as consistently as Tyler Conklin has proved to have that
Mm.
same range of outcomes.
Okay. All right.
I just mean in this situation, it's almost like streaming tight ends, right? And when I'm looking to stream tight ends, there's essentially one thing that I want, one thing, and that's opportunity. I'm not even looking necessarily like who's the highest scoring matchup, who has the best defensive coverage. I just want the guy that has the most opportunity, and that's Conklin.
The Conk. So yeah, there you go. We did get some questions. I get out. Yeah. So like, we'll just go through this. Thanks for entertaining us. Hey, our pleasure. It's been great, honestly. Mitchell Dell says Garrett Wilson or Curtis Samuel. I'm gonna let you take this one because I know you
That's
have strong
tough.
opinions there.
Okay, that one's pretty tough for me. Honestly, though, I'm edging towards Garrett Wilson, but I do think Elijah Moore has a big week, which is kind of yeah. Jets against Cincy, Washington against Eagles. Samuel has looked really good. He's put up consistent numbers back to back weeks, consistent opportunity shares back to back weeks. Uh, Jets are just gonna have to throw the ball. They're gonna have to throw the ball more. I can't bench Garrett Wilson anymore. Like I did it, and I did it in week 2. Because week 1 was like, okay, the peripherals are nice. He's running a lot of routes, but he's not getting targets. And then
And
week
now,
2, it's so moving forward, I'm projecting Garrett Wilson as the wide receiver 1 in that offense, and Curtis Samuel as the wide receiver 1B, wide receiver 2. Um, High upside scoring leans towards Garrett Wilson against Cincinnati. That's going to be my answer.
all right. Yeah, yeah, I like that. I agree with that. Last question. What was your guys' game day food today?
I got hash browns from McDonald's.
I have not had breakfast. Gotta be
Oh
honest with
shit.
you. Yeah, yeah. Probably gonna go to Tim Hortons. So
Fire.
yeah, yeah. I just figure it out. Honestly, I only had a water this morning, so
Jesus, Cass.
yeah. I did not want to wake up earlier than I had to, so I just woke up when I did and came straight
That
here.
was
So
yeah. I wake up. Yeah, I'm on Pacific Standard Time, so Cass had to get it to my house at like 7 a.m. this morning.
yeah, yeah. I'm not used to that, so I just decided to skip breakfast and go right after. So all right, so we're wrapping up here. We have Ryan. If I can start DK against Atlanta, who do I start him against? Uh,
Fair.
yeah, I
I
mean,
get it.
it's just a product of your team being good, right? So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
better
And
than
again, there was a lot of those questions came through with DK, and most of them had serviceable pivots. If the option is like an MVS, a McCole Hardman, then you can lean DK, but he's not somebody that I'm starting over a guy like Curtis Samuel.
fair. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's just a product of your team. So it's an ugly thing to say out
And
loud,
it
but
is a good matchup to have confidence flexing him, yes. But
yeah,
when you have, especially with all of these teams this year, and the success that people are having going zero running back, and you just have a stable of wide receivers where DK might be the 4th or 5th option of your best wide receiver options, and you're just putting him in there because it's matchup based. I don't like playing that game.
yeah. Let's go. Just speed fire through those last ones. So full PPR. Damian Pierce, AJ Dillon, Akers start one. Let's say on three. 1, 2, 3.
Dylan.
Dylan. Yeah. So there you go. Easy decision. Tom Brady Stan hashtag GOAT is back with a question. Full PPR. Julio, Jahan Dotson. Again.
Nazareth High School legend again.
Yeah. AJ Dillon or Samir White.
Dylan.
Dylan. Yeah. These are pretty easy. Alejandro says thank you. Have a great day. You too.
You too, man.
You too. Best of luck this week 3. John says start 3. Jan Robinson, Traylor Burks, Jeff Wilson, Michael Carter. So it's just
sit one.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, Carter.
yeah, Carter. It's between Carter and Burks.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Like the full PPR thing. What are you thinking?
I think I'm gonna sit Michael Carter. We were just talking about how tough that Cincinnati's been against the run specifically.
True.
Yeah, they've helped
True.
out pass catching backs a little bit, but they've just
Right.
kind of struggled against the pass. And Brees Hall does have a higher opportunity share of targets right now.
All right.
Yes, it's minimal, but
Yeah.
all of that being said,
He also
maybe
has
Brees-
Kamara. He just wrote.
Oh,
So
well, yeah.
don't be nervous.
Don't be nervous.
Go like
It's you.
So we're sitting both Burks and Carter at this point, right?
Yep.
Starting Kamara,
Yep.
Robinson, and Burks. I'm sorry, and Wilson.
Yep,
So yeah, there
definitely.
you go. Now we have Timmy. Fasting is fire though. Yeah, unintentional fasting. We out here. But you had a lot of energy. I do actually. So yeah, look
It's
at
the
that.
atmosphere.
All right, last 2 questions, and we'll end this. Penny or Pierce?
Damian Pierce.
Yeah, it's I hate to say it because I love Penny, but yeah.
And I hate to say it because I hate Pierce.
right. Garrett Wilson or Curtis Samuel? Going Garrett Wilson this week.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
Uh,
Went through that as well. Yeah.
Although Curtis Samuel is a good option, but bad YFI. There you go.
Bad
Best of luck.
Wi-Fi.
Oh shit. Yeah. Maybe I do need breakfast after all. Anyway, thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody.
Had a great time.
Always such a good time.
Then the last question comes in, and the crunch time guarantee is we're gonna answer every single question. So standard league, Allen Robinson or
Olave.
Olave. Oh, Saints homer coming in.
Yep.
All right, we're trusting
Not
him.
even, no need for analysis. Olave. Actually, throwing it out there, I just traded Brandon Ayuk for Chris Olave straight up, and I know Boyd and I were talking about it, so I got that deal done,
Hey.
son.
Yeah. Well, there you go, Jared. That's your answer. He knows what's up. So listen to him. You guys killed it today. Enjoy the games. You too, man. Thanks, boys, and thanks, gang. Love the show. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see each other next Wednesday, 10:30 p.m. a.m. Eastern Time. Best of luck this week, and we'll see each other soon.